Have you ever asked yourself why small words, harsh looks, or painful memories can still hurt you so deeply even when they happened long ago? Why do we carry invisible wounds inside us, replaying them again and again, as if they were fresh every single day? What if I told you that there is a way to live a life where nothing on the outside can truly hurt you again? No matter what people say or do, think for a moment about dropping a glass. Once it shatters, you may pick up the pieces, but sometimes a tiny shard still hides unnoticed. Later, you step on it, and the pain feels sharp and sudden. This is how many of our emotional wounds behave. Old hurts stay hidden, and life steps upon them when we least expect, bringing pain again. But Buddhism teaches a wisdom so deep and so gentle that it can remove even the sharpest shards from your heart. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, a place where timeless Buddhist teachings are shared with warmth and simplicity so they can touch your everyday life. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.3% subscribes. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your kindness helps spread these healing messages to those who also need them. Buddhism begins by helping us see the truth of suffering. Everyone faces it. Loss, rejection, disappointment. But suffering does not mean we are broken. It simply means we are alive. Through awareness, we learn to look at pain without fear. This practice is not about running away from the world, but about meeting life as it is. If someone insults you, you cannot stop their words, but you can choose how deeply those words cut. Understanding this choice is the first step to freedom. In Buddhism, freedom does not come by controlling the outside world, but by knowing the inner world. If we try to control everything outside, frustration grows. But if we understand our mind, calm slowly appears. The Buddha taught that pain is like two arrows. The first arrow is the wound life gives us, loss, pain, insult. The second arrow is how we stab ourselves again by clinging, replaying, and resisting. When we stop shooting the second arrow, life starts to feel lighter. Think about a storm. You cannot stop the rain or lightning, but you can learn to be the steady mountain, unmoved, letting the storm pass. Thoughts and emotions are storms. You are the mountain underneath. This strength does not come overnight. It begins with small moments of awareness. When anger rises, notice. This is anger. When sadness comes, whisper inside. The nature of suffering in Buddhism. The Zen master sat quietly, his breath deep and calm, his eyes soft yet clear, like still water that reflects the whole sky. And then he began, not in a hurried way, but slowly, as if each word was a lantern being placed gently on a dark river. My friend, let us now walk deeper into this path. If you wish to understand why nothing can hurt you again, you must first see clearly the very thing we spend most of our lives running from, suffering. It is not an enemy, yet we fight it so fiercely. It is not a stranger, for it walks beside us each day. But in truth, it is a teacher that most people never turn to. And so, let us meet this teacher today. He paused for a while, allowing the silence to speak first. Suffering, he continued, is the ground upon which the Buddha himself began his journey. If the Buddha had never seen old age, sickness, and death, he would never have sought freedom. This means that the very thing we resist, pain, loss, disappointment, can also become the doorway to awakening. Yet, our mistake is to label suffering as punishment or curse. We say, "Why me? Why now? Why this pain?" We fight it, deny it, fear it. But in Buddhism, we are taught not to reject suffering, but to look deeply into it. The Zen master leaned forward, as though sharing a secret. When you look at a wound without fear, healing begins. When you look at sorrow without resistance, insight comes forth. But to look directly at our hurt is difficult, because we have learned all our lives to escape. We use distractions, possessions, even relationships to cover it up. We chase pleasures to forget, yet the forgetting never lasts long. Soon, pain knocks again. He placed his palms together. You may ask, why does suffering exist at all? Why must every life taste pain? Buddhism answers simply. Suffering arises because of attachment, ignorance, and clinging. We cling to what is changing, hoping it will last, and when it passes, we bleed with disappointment. We expect love to never alter. Yet everything in life is as shifting as a cloud. We hold our youth tightly, yet it slowly slips away like sand. We want people to be kind always, yet they too are caught in their storms. And when reality does not match our desire, suffering blooms. The Master softened his voice. But do not think suffering is only grand tragedies. It is also found in everyday small things. Imagine waiting anxiously for someone's reply and feeling restless when they do not respond. Imagine missing a bus, spilling tea, not being understood by a friend, feeling unheard. These small ripples are also suffering. Life is filled with them, and if the heart is untrained, it feels bruised 100 times a day. This is why the Buddha said, to understand life, you must understand dukkha, the truth of unsatisfactoriness. Only then can you find true freedom. A breeze rustled through the leaves, and the Zen master smiled softly, as if the wind itself had joined the conversation. My child, do you see now? Suffering is not your enemy. It is your mirror. It reflects where you still cling, where you still resist. And when you look into it closely, you see the roots. At first you only see the pain on the surface, the harsh word, the loss of someone, the loneliness at night. But beneath lies craving for permanence, craving for certainty, craving for control. And beneath craving lies ignorance, the forgetting of life's impermanent nature. Once this ignorance is understood, craving loosens, and with it, suffering begins to dissolve. The Zen master closed his eyes briefly and opened them again with a steady glow. Let me tell you a simple story, he said. There was once a woman whose child had died. She was broken, her heart burning, and her tears endless. She carried the child's lifeless body through the streets, begging for medicine, for any miracle. She came to the Buddha, and he told her he could help, but only if she brought him a mustard seed from a house untouched by death. Eager, she knocked on door after door, asking. But in every home, she heard the same story. Someone had died there, a parent, a child, a husband, a friend. After visiting countless houses, she realized there was no place where death had not entered. Slowly, she returned to the Buddha and understood. Suffering touches all beings, not just her. This recognition transformed her grief. She still loved her child, she still wept, but now her heart opened wide enough to hold the sorrow of all mothers. And in that widening, suffering became something else. It became compassion. The Zen master paused, his voice carrying a deep tenderness. This is an important lesson. When you realize suffering is shared by all, your pain becomes less sharp. You stop asking, why only me? You begin to see yourself as part of the great ocean of human life. Everyone struggles, everyone longs, everyone aches. And in this recognition, something beautiful grows, compassion. You soften, both to yourself and to others. You learn to say, yes, I am not alone in this pain. And suddenly, what once hurt deeply begins to heal. He leaned back now, his hands resting on his knees, his words unhurried. Suffering has three main forms. There is the suffering of suffering, physical pain, emotional ache, the sharp sting of loss or insult. Then there is the suffering of change, when the pleasant cannot last. And lastly, the suffering pervading all conditioned existence, the quiet restlessness, the subtle unease even when nothing is seemingly wrong. This last form is the hidden thread in all lives. Many people feel vaguely unsatisfied, even when surrounded by comfort. This is the deepest form of suffering, the restless thirst that never ends unless you wake up. The Zen master's gaze lifted, as though looking into the vastness of the sky. Why do I say nothing can hurt you again? Because once you recognize these truths, pain becomes something very different. A person can insult you, but you no longer hold on to their words. They vanish like smoke. A possession can be lost, but you no longer tie your heart to it. It passes like a stream. Even death of a loved one, though it still brings tears, no longer shatters you completely, for you understand the nature of change. Instead of being broken, you bow to the truth of impermanence, and in bowing, you rise stronger. Pain stops being endless once you stop misunderstanding it. He pointed to the ground and then to the horizon. The Buddha's wisdom is practical, not lofty. He did not say, escape the world. He said, see it clearly. When you see that all experiences, pleasant or unpleasant, carry within them the seed of impermanence, your grip relaxes. And when the grip relaxes, you discover a calm that nothing can steal. This calm is not coldness. It is warmth, resilience, tender strength. It is like standing under a waterfall, but remaining untouched inside. The Zen master suddenly chuckled softly, his laughter clear as a bell. People ask me all the time, Master, will suffering end completely? And I smile, because suffering, as life, still appears. You may still stub your toe. You may still lose what you love. But the sting changes. You no longer resist, no longer double the pain with clinging. Instead, pain comes like a visitor, sits down for tea, and one day leaves. You do not fight, you do not chase. You just meet, and you bow. And in that bowing, the world stops hurting you. He let the silence stretch again. The leaves swayed, the earth breathed, and all was still. My dear one, his voice lowered to a whisper now. The discovery of suffering is the discovery of your deepest strength. Without it, you would never stretch, never awaken. Every sorrow you have faced is not evidence of weakness, but of your capacity to grow beyond it. This is why the Buddha called suffering noble. It does not destroy you, unless you mistake it. It carries in it the seed of liberation. To meet your pain fully is to meet your freedom fully. And once you learn this truly, nothing can hurt you again. And so the Zen master bowed his head, his words lingering like gentle ripples across a still pond, inviting the listener not to run anymore, but to sit, breathe, and look softly at the truth that suffering was never an enemy, but the hidden doorway to freedom. This is sadness. Just naming it is already a form of healing. Many people believe that peace means nothing bad ever happens. But true peace means you remain untouched even when storms appear again and again. This is why Buddhism says nothing outside can really hurt you once you understand yourself. The heart always seeks safety, but safety is not found by building walls. It is found by learning the art of openness. Imagine being so rooted in your own awareness that no word, no rejection, no fear shakes you. Living like this is possible. Buddhism does not offer empty promises. It offers small practices with steady power. Breathing with awareness, sitting with calm, noticing feelings. These are not small things, they are doorways. As you walk on this path, you will see hurts as teachers, Pain becomes a guide, pointing where healing is still needed. Instead of fearing pain, you begin to meet it gently. Bit by bit, the grip of the past starts fading. Old shards once hidden slowly dissolve. You no longer step on them because you are present, awake, and kind to yourself. Nothing, neither anger from others nor memories from yesterday, can take away the calm you build within. The story of Buddhism is the story of awakening. An ordinary person, surrounded by ordinary pains, found a way to live with extraordinary peace. This path is open for you too. Every teaching begins here. The mind is the root of suffering, but also the source of freedom. Once you taste even a little of this freedom, your heart shines with the courage to face life. So today, as we start this journey together, remember this. Nothing can hurt you again if you learn to see pain with wisdom, to hold your heart with kindness, and to walk slowly with awareness. This is just the beginning, and there is so much more to discover. Stay with me on this journey, because your peace matters, and your freedom is closer than you think. The nature of suffering in Buddhism. The Zen master sat quietly, his breath deep and calm, his eyes soft yet clear, like still water that reflects the whole sky. And then he began, not in a hurried way, but slowly, as if each word was a lantern being placed gently on a dark river. My friend, let us now walk deeper into this path. If you wish to understand why nothing can hurt you again, you must first see clearly the very thing we spend most of our lives running from: suffering. It is not an enemy, yet we fight it so fiercely. It is not a stranger, for it walks beside us each day. But in truth, it is a teacher that most people never turn to. And so, let us meet this teacher today. He paused for a while, allowing the silence to speak first. Suffering, he continued, is the ground upon which the Buddha himself began his journey. If the Buddha had never seen old age, sickness, and death, he would never have sought freedom. This means that the very thing we resist, pain, loss, disappointment, can also become the doorway to awakening. Yet, our mistake is to label suffering as punishment or curse. We say, "Why me? Why now? Why this pain?" We fight it, deny it, fear it. But in Buddhism, we are taught not to reject suffering, but to look deeply into it. The Zen master leaned forward, as though sharing a secret. When you look at a wound without fear, healing begins. When you look at sorrow without resistance, insight comes forth. But to look directly at our hurt is difficult, because we have learned all our lives to escape. We use distractions, possessions, even relationships to cover it up. We chase pleasures to forget, yet the forgetting never lasts long. Soon, pain knocks again. He placed his palms together. You may ask, why does suffering exist at all? Why must every life taste pain? Buddhism answers simply. Suffering arises because of attachment, ignorance, and clinging. We cling to what is changing, hoping it will last, and when it passes, we bleed with disappointment. We expect love to never alter, yet everything in life is as shifting as a cloud. We hold our youth tightly, yet it slowly slips away like sand. We want people to be kind always, yet they too are caught in their storms. And when reality does not match our desire, suffering blooms. The master softened his voice. But do not think suffering is only grand tragedies. It is also found in everyday small things. Imagine waiting anxiously for someone's reply and feeling restless when they do not respond. Imagine missing a bus, spilling tea, not being understood by a friend, feeling unheard. These small ripples are also suffering. Life is filled with them, and if the heart is untrained, it feels bruised 100 times a day. This is why the Buddha said, To understand life, you must understand dukkha, the truth of unsatisfactoriness. Only then can you find true freedom. A breeze rustled through the leaves, and the Zen master smiled softly, as if the wind itself had joined the conversation. My child, do you see now? Suffering is not your enemy. It is your mirror. It reflects where you still cling, where you still resist. And when you look into it closely, you see the roots. At first you only see the pain on the surface, the harsh word, the loss of someone, the loneliness at night. But beneath lies craving for permanence, craving for certainty, craving for control. And beneath craving lies ignorance, the forgetting of life's impermanent nature. Once this ignorance is understood, craving loosens, and with it, suffering begins to dissolve. The Zen master closed his eyes briefly and opened them again with a steady glow. Let me tell you a simple story, he said. There was once a woman whose child had died. She was broken, her heart burning, and her tears endless. She carried the child's lifeless body through the streets, begging for medicine, for any miracle. She came to the Buddha, and he told her he could help, but only if she brought him a mustard seed from a house untouched by death. Eager, she knocked on door after door, asking. But in every home, she heard the same story. Someone had died there, a parent, a child, a husband, a friend. After visiting countless houses, she realized there was no place where death had not entered. Slowly, she returned to the Buddha and understood. Suffering touches all beings, not just her. This recognition transformed her grief. She still loved her child, she still wept, but now her heart opened wide enough to hold the sorrow of all mothers. And in that widening, suffering became something else. It became compassion. The Zen master paused, his voice carrying a deep tenderness. This is an important lesson. When you realize suffering is shared by all, your pain becomes less sharp. You stop asking, "Why only me?" You begin to see yourself as part of the great ocean of human life. Everyone struggles, everyone longs, everyone aches. And in this recognition, something beautiful grows: compassion. You soften, both to yourself and to others. You learn to say, "Yes, I am not alone in this pain." And suddenly, what once hurt deeply begins to heal. He leaned back now, his hands resting on his knees, his words unhurried. Suffering has three main forms. There is the suffering of suffering, physical pain, emotional ache, the sharp sting of loss or insult. Then there is the suffering of change, when the pleasant cannot last. And lastly, the suffering pervading all conditioned existence, the quiet restlessness, the subtle unease even when nothing is seemingly wrong. This last form is the hidden thread in all lives. Many people feel vaguely unsatisfied, even when surrounded by comfort. This is the deepest form of suffering, the restless thirst that never ends unless you wake up. The Zen master's gaze lifted, as though looking into the vastness of the sky. Why do I say nothing can hurt you again? Because once you recognize these truths, pain becomes something very different. A person can insult you, but you no longer hold on to their words. They vanish like smoke. A possession can be lost, but you no longer tie your heart to it. It passes like a stream. Even death of a loved one, though it still brings tears, no longer shatters you completely, for you understand the nature of change. Instead of being broken, you bow to the truth of impermanence, and in bowing, you rise stronger. Pain stops being endless once you stop misunderstanding it. He pointed to the ground and then to the horizon. The Buddha's wisdom is practical, not lofty. He did not say, "Escape the world." He said, "See it clearly." When you see that all experiences, pleasant or unpleasant, carry within them the seed of impermanence, your grip relaxes. And when the grip relaxes, you discover a calm that nothing can steal. This calm is not coldness. It is warmth, resilience, tender strength. It is like standing under a waterfall, but remaining untouched inside. The Zen master suddenly chuckled softly, his laughter clear as a bell. People ask me all the time, "Master, will suffering end completely?" And I smile, because suffering as life still appears. You may still stub your toe. You may still lose what you love. But the sting changes. You no longer resist, no longer double the pain with clinging. Instead, pain comes like a visitor, sits down for tea, and one day leaves. You do not fight. You do not chase. You just meet, and you bow. And in that bowing, the world stops hurting you. He let the silence stretch again. The leaves swayed, the earth breathed, and all was still. My dear one, his voice lowered to a whisper now, the discovery of suffering is the discovery of your deepest strength. Without it, you would never stretch, never awaken. Every sorrow you have faced is not evidence of weakness, but of your capacity to grow beyond it. This is why the Buddha called suffering noble. It does not destroy you, unless you mistake it. It carries in it the seed of liberation. To meet your pain fully is to meet your freedom fully. And once you learn this truly, nothing can hurt you again. And so the Zen master bowed his head, his words lingering like gentle ripples across a still pond, inviting the listener not to run anymore, but to sit, breathe, and look softly at the truth that suffering was never an enemy, but the hidden doorway to freedom. Friend, if you truly desire to journey beyond the pain and suffering that bind your heart, you must first understand something subtly mysterious: the illusion of self. It is a subtle veil that hides from us the true nature of who we are. Most people believe there is an unchanging I inside, a fixed person who feels, thinks, and experiences life as a solid being. But the Buddha, with his gentle wisdom, showed us that this sense of self is more like a passing cloud than a permanent mountain. He breathed in deeply before continuing. Imagine you are watching a river flowing. You might say it is the same river from one moment to the next. Yet, the water that touched your hand a minute ago is already gone, replaced by new water rushing by. The river only seems to be one thing, but it is ever-changing. Like that river, what we call self is not one constant thing but a flow of thoughts, feelings, memories, and sensations, always shifting and moving. A soft smile crossed the master's lips. When you hold on to the idea of a fixed self, your mind tightens like a fist. You begin to defend that self fiercely, its beliefs, its hurts, its desires, as if it were a castle under siege. This clinging is the root of much suffering and fear. Because the self you clutch is not real, it is vulnerable to pain and loss. And so, pain and fear follow. He lowered his voice, as if sharing a cherished truth. But here is the beautiful secret that Buddhism offers. When you begin to see that the self is not a solid thing, but a movement, a dance of elements arising and passing, you start to feel lighter. The weight of me and mine loosens. A gentle openness arises in the heart, as if the tight door to your being has slowly creaked open. Through this opening comes freedom. The Zen master's eyes softened with warmth. This is why the Buddha said in Atta, no self. It is not emptiness in a scary way, but freedom from the chains of tight identity. No longer trapped in the tiny prison of I am this or I am that. Your mind can breathe and flow with life itself. You become like the sky, vast and open, where clouds of thoughts and feelings come and go without holding you hostage. He raised a hand gently as if to quiet a rushing river of thoughts. Many people ask, If there is no self, then who am I? It is a natural question. Buddhism does not say there is no experience or awareness. Who you are is not a fixed thing but a living process, like a river, like the wind. There is awareness, but it is not caught in fixed shapes. When you stop clinging to what you think is you, you find something beyond the self, a deep peace and presence that is not owned or taken away. The Master's voice became as gentle as a flowing stream. Picture a tree in the forest. It grows, changes with seasons, loses leaves, blooms anew. Yet it is called the same tree. Its identity is a story we give it, a useful way to relate. But the tree itself simply exists as it is, rooted, alive, changing. You are like that tree, always changing, always flowing, yet deeply present. He paused to let the warmth of the sun fill the space between words. This understanding, the truth of no self, dissolves much of our fear. When you do not see yourself as a fragile, separate island, you stop fearing the loss of things, status, or people as desperately. You see that all things arise and fall, including your sense of I. The attachment to self is what causes suffering. But when the attachment loosens, the heart expands. The Zen Master's gaze grew deeper, like a still lake reflecting distant stars. Now, this is not a quick fix or easy to accept. We have lived with this mistaken self-image for many years, possibly countless lifetimes, according to Buddhist wisdom. It takes gentle patience. The mind rebels at first. If there is no self, then what will remain of me? My memories, my feelings, my hopes? These too arise and pass. They are like waves on the ocean surface, moving, never constant. He leaned forward, as if to share a precious lantern light. Age, illness, loss. All these experiences show this truth practically. Your body changes every moment. Your thoughts come and go like winds. When it feels scary to lose yourself, remember, the self you are afraid of losing was never a solid thing to begin with. It is a collection of parts, body, mind, emotions, that flow and change. This realization can calm the fearful mind. The Master's voice grew softer. Once you begin to glimpse your non-self nature, compassion arises effortlessly. You no longer see others as separate from you. If they suffer, you suffer. If they are joyful, you rejoice. The walls dividing me, and you begin to fall. This is not losing yourself, but finding a wider heart. He smiled warmly. There is a story about a monk who asked the Buddha, "What is the self?" The Buddha replied, "There is neither self nor person." The monk was confused and asked again, "Then who experiences?" The Buddha said, "It is the ever-changing flow of conditions that experience arises." And there, freedom began. The Master's eyes twinkled gently. Imagine your thoughts like clouds crossing a blue sky. The sky does not hold on to the clouds, nor does it reject them. It simply is open and vast. When you see yourself this way, nothing sticks. No hurt, no anger, no fear. You become the sky itself. A soft wind blew through the leaves as the Zen Master continued. This does not mean a cold detachment or emptiness. Instead, it means presence, being alive in the moment without the weight of me and mine. You experience life fully, freely, brilliantly. You laugh without fear, cry without shame, and love without clinging. He lifted his hand gently. The illusion of self is like a dream, vivid and real while it lasts. But once you awaken, you realize the dream was never solid. The pain the dream caused dims. This awakening is not far away. It can begin now, in this very breath, in this awareness. The Master's voice was a warm embrace. Practice seeing yourself as water flowing through a gentle stream, or leaves scattered by the wind. Try softly saying to yourself, "I am not fixed. I am change. I am presence." This small practice uncovers freedom beneath the fears. He looked kindly into the eyes of those listening. Many suffer because they believe, "I must protect myself at all costs." But how can you protect something that is always moving, always changing? Acceptance, not resistance, is the door. When you stop protecting a fixed self that does not exist, peace begins. The master's smile deepened. This is why Buddhist meditation is not about building a fortress around you, but about gently looking inside, watching thoughts and feelings like passing clouds, and letting them be. In this watching, you slowly realize there is no permanent I. There is only this moment, this breath, this presence. And in this, the heart relaxes. He bowed his head gently. The journey to understand non-self is a journey to trust life itself. Life takes its course, changing, rising, falling, and you flow with it like a river in calm obedience, no longer fighting the current. The master's voice grew tender. When you live free from the illusion of a fixed self, you become like a tree that bends in the wind but does not break. You become like the ocean that moves with the moon's pull, but never loses its depth. You become like the sky that holds the clouds, but is never disturbed by them. He closed his eyes for a moment and opened them again with a peaceful glow. This realization changes everything. You no longer suffer from the sharp edges of loss or insult, because you know they do not touch a fixed self. You become strong not by force, but by understanding the deepest nature of your being. And in this strength, truly nothing can hurt you again. The Zen master's voice fell into a soothing silence, like a gentle brook sparkling in the sunlight, inviting all to rest in the peaceful knowing of their boundless, ever-changing true nature. My dear friends, to walk the path toward the peace where nothing can hurt you again, we must learn another essential lesson: how to let go. This may sound simple, yet it is the greatest art of living. Letting go is not giving up. It is learning to release the heavy burden that tightens around your heart. When you hold too tightly, to people, to ideas, to feelings, you build walls that isolate you from the present moment's freedom. He smiled softly. Imagine you are holding a handful of hot coal. If you grasp too tightly, your hand will burn and ache. But if you open your palm just enough, some coals will fall away, and healing begins. Letting go is like that. Warm but gentle, not sudden or harsh. The master's voice was a river flowing steadily. In our lives, we collect many things. Some are treasures, like love and kindness. Others are pains, anger, regret, fear. We clutch them all, believing they belong to us, that they define who we are. Yet nothing outside or inside truly stays forever. Everything is in constant flow. He paused, allowing his words to settle like soft rainfall. When we cling, suffering grows. Holding on to a grudge or past hurt is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. It binds you tighter than any chain. Buddhism teaches us that true freedom comes when we loosen our grip and allow life's currents to flow without resistance. The Zen master's eyes sparkled warmly. Letting go does not mean forgetting or ignoring reality. It means meeting it with an open heart. Imagine a leaf falling from a tree. The leaf does not fight its fall. It simply surrenders to the wind, and in surrender, it finds peace. So too can we learn to surrender, not as defeat, but as strength born from wisdom. He shifted slightly, his voice like soft velvet. Sometimes, letting go means forgiving, not for the other person's sake alone, but to free your own heart from the heavy anchor of anger. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, an act of courage that says, I choose peace over pain. The master's hands rested gently on his knees. But there are times when letting go feels impossible, when memories grip tightly, and emotions roar storm-like inside. This is natural, my friend. The mind resists change, afraid of loss. Yet, remember, strength is not in holding fast, but in learning to release slowly, patiently, with kindness toward yourself. His eyes glimmered with deep compassion. Each time you practice letting go, even in small ways, you open space for peace to enter. Letting go of a worry, a painful thought, a bitter memory. It is like clearing a path in a dense forest so sunlight can reach the earth again. Your heart brightens. The Zen Master's voice softened. When you hold onto sorrow or fear tightly, it grows stronger. But when you gently loosen your grasp, just a little, the burden lightens and the pain begins to fade. Like the river that flows smoothly around rocks, you too find your way past obstacles by relaxing your hold. He smiled as if sharing a cherished secret. Life often teaches us through endings. Loss of a friend, change of circumstance, dreams shattered. It is natural to feel sadness and grief. But if you resist, you trap yourself in suffering. If you learn to flow with these changes, you discover that nothing is truly lost. For life always moves forward, giving space for new joys to arise. The Master's voice was serene. This is where the Buddha's teaching of non-attachment shines brightest. Attachment is the fiery grasp that causes suffering. Non-attachment is the gentle touch of a lover's hand releasing, letting the other be free. It's not cold or uncaring. It is deep love without grasping. He looked thoughtfully at the faces before him. When you let go, your heart learns to embrace life as it is. This does not mean you become indifferent or distant. It means you meet joy and sorrow alike with a calm, steady heart. It means dancing with life's changes rather than struggling against them. The Zen Master breathed in deeply. Letting go is also about seeing reality clearly. We often cling because we misunderstand what things truly are. We think happiness is in lasting forever. Yet all things change. We believe pain will never end. Yet pain also passes like clouds across the sky. He smiled gently. Imagine holding a butterfly. If you squeeze too tightly, it will be harmed. But if you cup your hand softly, it may rest freely without harm. So too with your heart. Handle it with soft care. The Master's voice was steady. This practice of letting go is not one time. It is a daily dance with life. Each moment brings new chances to release fear, anger, and attachment. You may stumble and cling again. That is okay. Be patient. Every time you return to open hands, you grow stronger. He paused, his eyes reflecting endless kindness. The ocean does not resist the river's flow, nor does the river fight the shore. It flows freely and powerfully, moving with grace. When you learn to let go, your heart becomes like the ocean, vast, deep, and free. The Zen Master's words grew soft. Sometimes you may ask, how can I let go of the past? How do I release the pain that weighs on me? Start with small steps. Breathe deeply, feel your heart's ache, and whisper to yourself, it is okay to let go. This simple practice opens the door to healing. He smiled warmly. Remember, letting go is love's gentle art. To hold something with open hands is the most loving gift you can give. To yourself and to the world. The Master's voice was like a soothing balm. As you practice, the sharp edges of life begin to soften. You walk more lightly. You look into the eyes of others without fear of loss, knowing that connection is in the present moment, not in grasping forever. This frees you from the pain of clinging and opens the heart to true joy. He bowed slightly. In this unfolding, you find the secret the Buddha discovered. Suffering is not ended by grasping, but by letting go. And when you let go fully, your heart blooms like a lotus, beautiful, serene, untouched by the muddy waters beneath. The soothing sound of the breeze stirred the leaves as the Zen master sat quietly, inviting all to breathe with him, to open their hands and hearts, and to slowly learn the timeless dance of letting go. The dance of freedom, peace, and love. Dear friends, today we speak of a path, a middle path. This is not a path to rush upon, nor one to stumble through blindly. It is a path walked slowly and mindfully, a path found not in extremes but in balance. The Buddha named it the middle way, a design upon which your steps can find sure footing amid life's shifting sands. He smiled softly. Imagine you walk along a thin bridge stretched across a deep valley. Too far to one side, and you might stumble into fear and pain. Too far to the other side, and you risk losing yourself in endless desires and distractions. The middle way is walking in the center, steady and aware, one careful step at a time. The Zen master's voice grew warm and clear. You see, life can pull us toward extremes. We cling too tightly to pleasure, fearing loss, or we punish ourselves with harsh denial, ignoring our needs. Sometimes we scatter our energy in chaotic desires, seeking happiness in many things that never fully satisfy. He lifted his hand gently, as if drawing an invisible line in the air. The middle way teaches us to avoid these traps, not by forcing strict rules nor allowing unchecked urges, but by finding harmony with what is real and true. It provides a path where the heart can rest, neither wanting too much nor shutting down. He leaned forward slightly, eyes twinkling with kindness. Think of a young tree growing in a field. Too much wind may snap it, and too much stillness may weaken its roots. But a gentle breeze that encourages the tree to bend and sway helps it grow strong and flexible. The middle path is like that breeze. It supports your growth through balance. The master smiled softly. In Buddhist teachings, the middle way is the way between self-indulgence and self-mortification. The Buddha himself experienced both extremes, deep pleasure and severe asceticism, and found neither of them led to peace. Only by walking the moderate path did he discover awakening. His voice lowered gently. This middle path is not simple, for it asks us to observe how we live, our habits, our choices, where we hold too tight and where we let go too freely. It asks patience, kindness to self, and honest reflection. It asks us to be awake to every moment without judgment. The Zen master gazed into the flowing river at his side. Life flows, and so must we. Sometimes the river widens, sometimes narrows, but it never stops moving. Your heart, too, needs to flow with life, neither clinging rigidly to old hurts and desires, nor losing itself in chaos. The middle way is the steady river path. He lowered his voice to a soothing whisper. When you find this middle ground, you discover a peace that no storms can shake. You stop being tossed by cravings or fears, for you walk anchored by clarity and compassion. You see clearly what serves your well-being and what causes harm. The Zen master leaned back with a gentle sigh. Many suffer because they chase fleeting pleasures or punish themselves with harsh denial. The middle path invites you to stand firm in the present, welcoming life with open arms, feeling joy without clinging, feeling pain without resistance. He smiled quietly. This path is practical and gentle. For example, when faced with anger, instead of letting it control you or pushing it deep inside, you learn to see it and understand its cause. You do not feed it nor ignore it. You find the middle ground where calm and clarity arise. His eyes shone warmly. This middle way also extends to your relationships. neither grasping tightly to people, nor shutting the heart in fear of loss. You open to loving without chains. You connect deeply yet lightly, respecting both your own freedom and others. The Master's voice grew steady. Walking this path helps you avoid two great traps: self-destruction through harshness and confusion through excess. Instead, you grow gentle with yourself and those around you. You become rooted like a tree, but flexible like a river reed in the wind. He paused and then softly continued. When you find this balance, life's challenges still come: loss, pain, fear. But you meet them with a calm courage, knowing that this too is part of the flow. Nothing stays fixed, and you do not try to force what must change. The Zen Master's eyes were kind and bright. This is the freedom the Buddha taught. The freedom from extremes, from suffering born of pushing and pulling too hard. In this freedom, you find space for peace, joy, and love to grow naturally. He looked into the distance with a smile. The middle way is a journey, not a destination. Each moment offers a new chance to walk it anew, with love, patience, and awareness. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to find balance even when storms blow fiercely. The Master's voice was gentle as a lullaby. Remember, the Buddha's path is open to all who seek truth. It is neither a narrow road nor a rigid rule, but a wide, welcoming river flowing toward awakening. When you step into this river with courage, the heart softens, the mind clears, and the spirit sings. He closed his eyes briefly, then opened them again with quiet certainty. This middle path, my friends, is the path to freedom. Freedom from pain, from illusion, from the suffering caused by imbalance. When you walk it sincerely, you find that nothing can hurt you again, because you stand steady at the center of life's ever-changing dance. The soft murmur of the flowing river filled the space as the Zen Master sat peacefully, inviting all to breathe deeply, to open their hearts gently, and to step lightly upon the path of balance. The middle way, the way to true peace and freedom. My dear companions on this path, now we come to a practice both simple and profound: mindfulness. This is the gentle art of being present, of waking up fully to each moment without rushing or resisting. It is the clear gaze that sees reality just as it is, pure, without the stories and judgments that cloud our view. He smiled softly, eyes shining like morning dew. Imagine holding a cup of tea. When you drink it mindfully, you taste each flavor deeply. Feel the warmth in your hands, smell its gentle aroma. Mindfulness is this kind of full, loving attention, being fully here now, without distraction. His voice flowed like a quiet stream. In Buddhism, mindfulness is the first step on the path to healing. When suffering arises, our first habit is to avoid or push it away. We do not want to feel pain or sadness, so we distract ourselves with thoughts or actions. But this only strengthens suffering, making it darker and heavier. The Zen Master's gaze softened. Instead, mindfulness teaches you to turn gently toward what is, to feel pain without fear, to watch anger without reacting, to welcome sadness without judgment. It is a brave, tender meeting between you and your own experience. He moved his hand as if drawing a circle in the air. This is why the Buddha said, mindfulness is the path. Because when you are mindful, you wake up. You see thoughts and feelings not as enemies or threats, but as passing visitors. Like clouds moving through a vast sky, they appear and fade without disturbing the sky itself. The Master leaned forward slightly, his voice a quiet invitation. Have you noticed how much time is spent lost in the past or worrying about the future? The past, with its regrets and old hurts. The future, with its fears and hopes. Both pull you away from the only place where peace lives, the present moment. He smiled gently. Mindfulness is the key to this peace. When you come home to the present, the swirling storms of worry and regret calm. You begin to taste the simple joy of breathing, of being alive now. The present moment is like a doorway. Step through it, and pain loses its power. The Zen Master's voice was like soft rain. This practice is not about changing what you feel, but about changing how you relate to those feelings. When anger or sadness arise, mindfulness invites you to say, "I see you. I am here with you." This quiet acknowledgement dissolves resistance and softens the heart. He lowered his gaze thoughtfully. Many believe mindfulness means stopping thoughts or emptying the mind. This is a misunderstanding. The mind will always move. Mindfulness is simply watching without getting caught. Like watching leaves float on a river without reaching down to grab them. The Master's eyes sparkled warmly. Another beautiful truth is that mindfulness is not just for sitting quietly. It can be woven through every act. Eating, walking, washing your hands. When done with full attention, each moment becomes a sacred temple, each breath a prayer. He breathed deeply. Through mindfulness, you learn to meet suffering with kindness instead of fear. You become a gentle witness to your pain, not its prisoner. This witness holds a space of safety where healing begins. The Zen Master's voice was steady and soft. This is the heart of Buddhist meditation. Watching the mind with gentle awareness, noticing the flow of thoughts and feelings without attachment or aversion. This seeing arises slowly, like dawn breaking gently over the dark night. He smiled as if sharing a quiet miracle. With mindfulness, you begin to notice the smallest details, the warmth of sunlight, the coolness of air, the rhythm of your heartbeat. These simple experiences ground you in life's beauty, reminding you of your alive and precious nature. The Master's tone grew tender. Over time, mindfulness builds a refuge within, a place you can return to, no matter the storms outside. When pain arises, whether from loss, anger, or fear, you step back with gentle awareness and say, "This too is part of life." In this acknowledgement, pain becomes less sharp, more bearable. He closed his eyes briefly and opened them with clear light. This practice does not remove suffering instantly. It changes your relationship with it. Instead of fighting or running, you meet pain with courage and softness. And this softness is your true strength. The Zen Master's voice was a loving embrace. Picture a mother holding a crying child. She does not push the child away, but holds them close with warmth and patience. Mindfulness is that mother's heart turned inward to your own suffering. He paused, letting the silence bloom like a flower. My friends, mindfulness is a lamp on the path. It shines gently, illuminating the way through dark moments. It reminds you that no feeling is permanent, no thought eternal. All come and go, like waves in the vast ocean of consciousness. The Master's eyes held a quiet invitation. Begin now, with one breath. Feel it deeply, fully. Let your attention rest here, soft and warm. When the mind wanders, bring it gently back, like guiding a child who has strayed. In this simple practice, the path to freedom unfolds. He bowed his head gently. Through mindfulness, you awaken to the truth that nothing inside or outside can truly hurt you again, because you have built a sanctuary within, a calm and watching presence that no storm can shake. The soft sounds of the forest held the moment in tender stillness, as the Zen Master's words settled into hearts like gentle rain, nurturing the seeds of peace and awakening waiting to bloom in each soul. My dear friends, now we come to a teaching that touches the very essence of freedom, the truth of emptiness. It is a word that often confuses many, but its meaning is as simple as it is profound. Emptiness is not nothingness or a void. It is the truth that all things, including ourselves, have no fixed, separate essence. Everything is connected, always changing, and without an unchanging core. He smiled softly. Imagine a wave in the ocean. The wave appears, rises, and falls. You might say this is a wave. But the wave is never separate from the ocean. Without the ocean, there is no wave. The wave does not exist independently. In the same way, you do not exist as a permanent, isolated self. You are like the wave, arising from many causes and conditions, flowing with life's vast ocean. The Zen Master's voice grew warm. This understanding frees you from suffering, because when you realize that things are empty of independent self, you stop clinging to them as if they were solid and permanent. You stop trying to possess or control what is, by nature, always flowing and changing. He breathed gently. Emptiness is not a cold emptiness but a spacious openness, a vast sky in which all experiences appear and vanish like clouds. When you rest in this openness, your heart expands, and there is room for all feelings, joy, sorrow, fear, love, to arise and pass without grasping or rejection. The Master's eyes danced with kindness. People often fear emptiness because they think it means losing themselves. But it means the opposite. In emptiness, we find the true nature of our being. Not a separate I clinging to identity or possessions, but a living presence connected to all life. He leaned forward. Think about a clay pot. It seems solid and separate, but without the empty space inside, it cannot hold water. The emptiness inside is what makes the pot useful and meaningful. Likewise, our true nature is the openness, the space, within and around all things. The Zen Master's voice was steady and inviting. When you truly see emptiness, suffering loses its grip. You no longer take hurt or loss as destruction, because you understand they arise within the web of life, dependent on many changing factors. Nothing stands alone to harm you utterly. He smiled gently. This is why the Buddha said all phenomena are empty of self-nature. It is not a teaching to pull you away from life, but to open your eyes to life's true face. A face that is alive, interwoven, and free. The Master's tone grew tender. In emptiness, compassion naturally arises. When you see yourself not as a separate island, but as part of the vast ocean, your heart naturally reaches out with kindness to others. You recognize their suffering as your own because boundaries have softened and widened. He paused, letting the stillness deepen. Emptiness is not an abstract idea, but an experience you can touch in meditation and daily life. When you sit quietly and watch thoughts and sensations arise, you begin to notice their fleeting, hollow nature. You see how feelings come and go, like shadows that pass across the ground. The Zen Master lifted his hands softly as if holding a precious treasure. This seeing is a great gift. It reveals the freedom beneath appearances. You no longer feel trapped by painful memories or fears because you realize they have no solid, permanent grip on you. They are like clouds passing through the sky of your mind. He smiled warmly. Sometimes we cling to things because we want to make ourselves feel safe. But this safety is an illusion. The truth of emptiness teaches us that all things depend on conditions. When conditions change, things change. When you live with this understanding, your heart softens and opens to life as it is, without resistance. The Zen Master's voice was like a soft song. Emptiness also means that you cannot hold onto problems, worries, or sorrows as permanent burdens. When you see them as empty of fixed essence, they lose their power to harm beyond the moment. This does not mean ignoring reality, but accepting its changing nature. He looked deeply into the eyes before him. This wisdom brings great peace. It is the root of true compassion and joy. Because when you know that nothing is fixed or separate, your heart naturally flows toward kindness and understanding to all beings. The Master's voice grew gentle. Living with the wisdom of emptiness means walking lightly in the world. You engage fully with life's beauty and challenges, but you do not carry unnecessary burdens. You allow experiences to come and go, like leaves floating down a stream. He paused and smiled softly. This is the path to freedom. Freedom from fear, anger, attachment, and suffering. When you rest deeply in emptiness, you find a strength that cannot be shaken, a calm that nothing can disturb. The Zen Master's eyes shone with quiet joy. Many have traveled this path before you, discovering that emptiness is not emptiness at all, but fullness beyond words. It is the open heart, the clear mind, the vast sky in which all life dances. He bowed his head gently. My dear ones, embrace this teaching with an open heart. Let emptiness show you the way beyond pain and fear. In its spacious presence, know that nothing can hurt you again. You are as vast as the sky and as free as the wind. The forest held a sacred silence as the Zen Master's gentle words floated softly, inviting all to rest in the tender embrace of emptiness, where true peace and freedom await in every moment. My dear friends, if you want to walk the path where nothing can hurt you again, you must know the foundation upon which this freedom stands, the Four Noble Truths. They are the essence of the Buddha's wisdom, simple truths that hold the key to understanding suffering and transcending it. He smiled warmly. The first truth is simple yet profound. Life has suffering. This suffering is not a punishment or a mistake, but part of the very nature of existence. We experience pain, loss, aging, loneliness, disappointment. This is the first truth. To deny or ignore this is to remain trapped. The Master's voice was soft but clear. It is important to understand that suffering is not just big tragedies. It is the small moments too. The frustration when things don't go our way. The sadness in a quiet room. The unease we feel even when life seems fine. This truth is a gentle invitation to wake up to what is real. He paused, allowing his words to rest in the hearts that listened. The second noble truth teaches us why suffering exists. It arises because of craving, attachment, and desire. We want things to be permanent, to stay pleasant, and to avoid pain. When life does not meet these desires, suffering blooms. The root of pain is our clinging. The Zen Master's gaze softened. But do not be harsh with yourself. This craving is natural. We all want to hold on to happiness and push away sorrow. The Buddha showed us that this very holding on creates the endless cycle of suffering. He leaned forward as if sharing a sacred knowledge. The third noble truth offers great hope. Suffering can end. It is not eternal. When you loosen your grip on craving and attachment, you begin to find peace. Freedom is possible. You can live without being bound by endless thirst for pleasure or fear of pain. His smile deepened. Imagine a river flowing smoothly after heavy rains. At first, the water is wild and turbulent, but over time it settles into calm. So too, your heart can find stillness after the storms of craving and clinging. The Master's voice was steady and warm. The fourth noble truth is the path, the way to freedom. This path is called the Noble Eightfold Path, a practical guide to living wisely, kindly, and with mindful awareness. It teaches right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. He looked gently at those before him. Walking this path is not about perfection, but sincere effort. It is about learning to see life clearly, to act with kindness, and to cultivate a calm, awake mind. the Zen Master's voice grew softer. When you follow this path, the grip of suffering begins to loosen. You find a freedom not dependent on outside circumstances, but rooted deep within. You learn to meet life as it is, with courage, wisdom, and heart. He breathed deeply. Think of a traveler walking through a dense forest. The Noble Eightfold Path is the clear trail that guides the way. Without it, the traveler might wander lost, frightened by shadows. With it, each step is firm and confident. His eyes sparkled with gentle joy. This path includes right speech, speaking truthfully and kindly, avoiding harm. Right action means living with honesty and compassion toward all beings. Right livelihood encourages earning a living without causing suffering. These are not rules but loving guides to help your heart grow. The Master's voice was like a calm embrace. Right effort means cultivating wholesome thoughts and releasing negativity. Right mindfulness is the clear presence we spoke of before, the gentle, honest awareness of each moment. And right concentration is the focused attention that quiets the mind and uncovers deep peace. He smiled tenderly. These steps are the bricks that build the house of freedom. Each one supports the next, strengthening your foundation so you no longer fall into the traps of craving and fear. The Zen Master's eyes held a quiet light. When you understand and live by these truths, suffering no longer binds you. You meet the world with open hands, ready to receive whatever comes, neither grasping nor pushing away. This is the heart of liberation. He sighed softly. Many walk life unaware of these truths, caught in endless cycles of desire and disappointment. But to know suffering, its cause, its end, and the path to its end is to hold the key to peace. The Master's voice was warm and inviting. So, my dear ones, walk the path gently. Practice kindness, patience, and mindfulness. Each step brings you closer to a life where nothing can hurt you again because your heart is free. He bowed his head. The Four Noble Truths are not just ancient words, but living wisdom for each of us. Embrace them with an open heart and watch how your life slowly transforms from struggle to peace. A soft wind stirred the tree's leaves as the Zen Master's words settled quietly in the hearts around him. A gentle invitation to step into the path of peace and freedom waiting within each moment. My dear friends, as we continue our journey toward a heart untouched by suffering, let us speak of a great transformation, that of the emotions through the power of compassion. Many believe the path to peace is to deny or suppress feelings like anger, fear, or sadness. But Buddhism shows us a path not of denial, but of transformation, where even the darkest emotions become doors to awakening. He smiled gently. Imagine blacksmiths at their forge. They take raw, heavy metal and place it in fire, hammer it with care until it is shaped into a strong, useful tool. In the same way, our emotions, even the difficult ones, can be transformed, tempered and refined by compassion. The Master's voice was soft and steady. When painful emotions arise, our natural habit is to push them away, judge them as bad, or get swept away by their force. This only deepens suffering. Instead, Buddhism teaches us to meet these feelings with kindness and openness, like an old friend who has come asking for understanding. He leaned forward, eyes warm. Compassion means recognizing that all feelings, anger, jealousy, fear, grief, arise from a heart in pain, just like your own. When you see emotions as messengers carrying a cry for love or healing, you begin to hold them gently rather than fight them. The Zen Master's gaze deepened. Consider the story of a great warrior who faced fierce enemies in battle. It was not strength alone that won the fight, but the courage to meet fear face to face, to greet anger not with more anger, but with calm resolve. Compassion is like this courage. meeting the storm inside with open arms. He smiled softly. This transformation is not about making emotions disappear. Rather, it is about changing your relationship with them. When sadness comes, for instance, instead of drowning in it or hiding away, you can say, "I see your pain." This acknowledgement is healing in itself. The master's tone was gentle. By practicing compassion toward yourself, you become a safe place for your emotions. This safety allows them to soften, to change their form from pain to understanding. As your heart opens, compassion spills outward, reaching toward others with kindness and care. He looked around with a tender smile. In Buddhist teachings, compassion, karuna, is paired with loving kindness, metta. Loving kindness is the gentle wish for all beings to be happy, free from suffering, while compassion is the willingness to be with others' pain and help carry their burdens. The Zen master's voice was like a soothing melody. When you cultivate compassion, you stop seeing others as threats or competitors. You begin to understand that everyone struggles, everyone hurts. This understanding lifts the walls of separation and builds bridges of connection. He carefully continued. This connection is a powerful healer. To realize that you are not alone in your suffering dissolves loneliness. To touch someone else's pain with an open heart is a sacred act, one that transforms both giver and receiver. The master's eyes shone as he spoke. Sometimes, our anger or resentment feels like a heavy stone we carry. Compassion teaches you to gently place that stone down, to forgive, not to excuse harm, but to free your own heart. He smiled warmly. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is strength rooted in deep understanding. When you forgive, you stop feeding the fire of pain. Your heart breathes freely again, light and open. The Zen master's voice was steady and kind. Compassion is also an embrace of imperfections, your own and others. It means accepting that everyone is on their own journey, learning and growing, sometimes stumbling. This acceptance dissolves judgment and nurtures peace. He spoke slowly. In meditation, you can practice compassion by silently repeating wishes. May I be free from suffering. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. Then extend these wishes outward. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. This simple practice softens the heart and widens your circle of love. The Zen master looked kindly at those present. With compassion, even difficult emotions lose their sharp edges. Fear becomes courage. Anger becomes protection for what you love. Sadness becomes a doorway to deeper understanding. He whispered, "This is the alchemy of the awakened heart, the transformation of pain into peace through the power of love." The master's gaze was tender and wise. When you live with compassion at your core, your life shines with a quiet strength. You meet challenges without being broken. You listen to others with presence and care. You no longer react from fear or pain, but respond with awareness. He smiled softly. The great Buddhist teachers called compassion the heart of enlightenment because it connects you to the true nature of all beings, a nature filled with longing for happiness and freedom. The Zen master's voice faded into a hush as he finished. So, my dear friends, cultivate compassion like a precious garden. Tend it with patience, water it with kindness, and watch as your heart blooms into a source of light and healing. In this blossoming, truly, nothing can hurt you again. The quiet rustling of the leaves held the space as the Zen master rested, his words lingering like a warm embrace, inviting all to carry compassion forward into every thought, feeling, and moment. My dear friends, now we come to a truth that touches the very core of our freedom, the freedom from fear and attachment. To live where nothing can hurt you again It is not enough to understand suffering or even to transform our emotions. We must learn to live free from the chains that bind our hearts. Fear and clinging. He smiled kindly. Fear is a shadow that follows many of us closely. It whispers, "Hold on tightly, or you will fall." And so we clutch life, people, and possessions as if they could save us. But these chains only tighten the grip of suffering. The deeper your fear, the harder it is to breathe freely. The master's eyes were gentle as he spoke. Attachment is much like holding water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. We cling to what feels good, to people we love, to ideas about ourselves and the world. Yet nothing stays forever. The more you try to keep, the more you experience loss. He leaned forward, voice soft like a whisper. Buddhism teaches us that true freedom arises when we loosen these bindings. When you meet life with open hands instead of clenched fists, you discover a peaceful strength beneath the surface of fear. The Zen master's gaze was steady and calm. Imagine a bird sitting on a branch. If it clings tightly, fearful of falling, its wings remain closed. But if it allows itself to rest lightly, prepared to fly at any moment, it is free. So too must your heart rest lightly in the world, ready to flow with life's changes. He breathed deeply. This kind of freedom begins with awareness, seeing your fears and attachments clearly without hiding or pushing them away. You may notice fears about losing love, status, safety, or even life itself. These fears are natural, but when you bring gentle awareness instead of resistance, the shadows begin to fade. The master's voice grew tender. Often, our fear arises not from what is happening now, but from stories we tell ourselves about what might happen. We imagine worst-case scenarios, and this makes our hearts tremble. Mindfulness teaches us to return to the present, the only moment we truly own, where fear often loses its power. He smiled with compassion. Attachment is similar. When you attach to an image of happiness or security, you bind yourself to something fragile. Life, like a river, flows always. Holding tight to one spot causes suffering. Instead, Buddhism invites us to love with open hands, to cherish without grasping. The Zen master's words were like soft rain. This does not mean you love less or care less. It means you love more freely, more fully. You understand that love is not possession but connection. It means giving without expecting to keep, sharing without clinging. He looked around with gentle warmth. When attachment loosens, your heart breathes more easily. You feel less anxiety and grasping. You begin to open to all experiences, joy and sorrow, meeting them alike with acceptance and peace. The master's voice was steady and wise. Living free from fear and attachment is the heart of true liberation. It means you are not tossed by every wind, not broken by every loss. Instead, you stand rooted in the truth of impermanence and the freedom of open hands. He spoke slowly. This freedom does not come suddenly, but grows like a flower in the sun. With patience and gentle practice, your heart learns to release its tight grip. You practice letting go over and over, whether in meditation or daily life, until it becomes your natural way. The Zen master's eyes held an endless kindness. Many find this path challenging because our culture praises holding on tightly. But the Buddha's wisdom shines a different light. Release and you will find, he said. Not in holding, but in letting go, is your heart's true home. He smiled softly. When fear and attachment loosen, peace becomes your companion. Thoughts no longer control you. Emotions no longer overwhelm you. You become like the open sky, vast, steady, welcoming whatever weather comes. The master's voice was a soothing embrace. Imagine how light your heart feels when it is free from fear. A heart that can laugh, cry, and love without the chains of needing to be safe or certain. This is the heart of true courage, the courage to be vulnerable and free. He paused, letting the quiet spread gently. This freedom also brings compassion, because when you are free yourself, you wish freedom for all beings. You no longer see the world as a place of danger, but as a place for growth, connection, and love. The Zen Master's eyes smiled as he concluded. So, my dear ones, walk this path of freedom with patience and kindness. Meet your fears and attachments with open arms. Step softly into the space where nothing can hurt you again. A space of loving release, courage, and peace. The gentle breeze whispered through the leaves as the Zen Master rested. His words a tender offering, inviting all to breathe deeply and open their hearts to the gift of true freedom. My dear friends, we have walked a long path together. We have seen suffering, learned to let go, touched the truth of no self, balanced on the middle way, and discovered the power of mindfulness and compassion. Now, we come to a gentle and deep truth that wraps all these teachings like a loving embrace. It is the truth that nothing can hurt you again. Not because life will always be easy, but because your heart has become strong, open, and free. He smiled softly. This freedom is not far away or hidden in distant lands. It lives inside you, in the quiet space between your thoughts, in the calm that awaits beneath the storm. When you live with the wisdom you have gathered, you find yourself unshaken by the world's ups and downs. You become like the sky, vast open, holding all weather without fear. The Zen Master's voice warmed like sunlight. Remember the small moments we spoke of, the daily challenges, the difficult feelings, the losses and disappointments. Perhaps they still arise. But now, you meet them not as enemies but as teachers. You bow to each moment with love, saying, I am here with you. And through this gentle presence, the power of pain begins to fade. He looked around with tender eyes. Your heart has learned to hold without grasping, to love without needing, to feel without being overwhelmed. This is courage and peace woven together. It is the true strength the Buddha showed us. The strength to be vulnerable but not broken. The Master took a breath, his voice gentle as a lullaby. There will be storms, yes. Life will not always be kind. But your heart, forged in the fires of understanding and compassion, is a sanctuary. It is a safe place where no hurt can reach alone. Inside this sanctuary, you are whole. He smiled warmly. So live softly now. Walk with kindness to yourself and to others. Let your light shine quietly, showing the way not through loud words, but through gentle presence. The Zen Master's eyes glistened with love. When you feel fear, remember the breath, the simple gift of this moment. When you feel sadness, remember to hold yourself tenderly. When you feel anger, meet it with compassion. These small acts build a life where nothing can truly hurt you again. He paused and spoke with a heart full of gratitude. I am deeply grateful you have shared this journey with me. There are many who watch but do not subscribe. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.3% subscribes. So please, if these words have touched your heart, like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Your support helps these teachings reach those who need them most. The Master's voice was soft but firm. By sharing, you plant seeds of peace in the hearts of others. By subscribing, you keep this light shining so the world can awaken a little more each day. This is a great kindness, and I thank you for it. He looked gently at each listener. Now, go forward with open hearts and fearless spirits. Carry this teaching in your everyday moments. When you wake, when you rest, when you face the world. Live free, live fully, and know that nothing can hurt you again." The Zen master bowed his head gently. "May your path be peaceful. May your heart be light. And may your life be a blessing for yourself and all those you meet." The soft rustling of the evening breeze held the moment still, as the master's words lingered like a warm embrace, inviting all to rest in the quiet strength of freedom found deep within.